Okay, this is going up as another video response to what the question Tim Kilgore was asking. How you doing, Tim? Funny cornet video you sent me there, by the way. Yeah, we're continuing this conversation about the idea of me as a Christian having a hope that could be wrong based upon an interpretation that could be wrong of a religious text that could be wrong. And in your response to me, Tim, you had said that I had basically committed, a logical fallacy in appealing to antiquity, by appealing, to the early church fathers and whatnot, showing that that's why I guess my interpretation is right. No. I do want to clarify, and I probably wasn't fully articulate in my first video. I wasn't saying because something is older, it is inherently more true or better. I mean, no, that would be insane for a Christian to say that. Buddhism would automatically be more true. Hinduism would be automatically more true. So would Judaism. No, that was not where I was going there at all. What I was saying, I don't know, have you ever heard the expression, the cleanest water runs closest to its source? The purest water runs closest to its source. Anyone? Basically, what I was saying there was people like Irenaeus, Justin Martyr, Tertullian, Clement of Alexandria, they were very close to the apostolic age, and they had received many of the teachings, from people who knew people, several generations away from the apostles. Irenaeus was only 2 generations away himself. And that's why them saying, believing that the soul is immortal. It does not die when the body dies. It goes to rest to be with the Lord. That's what I kind of buttress my interpretation of, scriptures like to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. That's why I believe that that's what Paul was saying. You just go in the early church and you do not see anybody teaching soul sleep. And that kind of discredits the idea that the apostles taught soul sleep. You'd also made made mention of the fact that, so what if Irenaeus is 2 generations away from the Apostle John? Paul Revere, within a couple generations of his famous midnight ride, it was believed that he failed at his mission. I believe that's what you said. Good point. That's why we don't just have the tradition, the teaching tradition. You also have the written records of what the apostles taught in the form of the New Testament. So let's say within 2 generations of, let's say by 150, people were going around saying, well, you have to be circumcised in order to be a Christian. Someone would hold up the book of Galatians and say, the heck you do. Paul slammed this and he, called a curse down on anyone who taught such a thing. It's interesting that you mention it. Within a generation of, the death of Christ, in the Corinthian congregation, as you might be aware, there was, a bad belief going around that there would not be a resurrection, and Paul corrected it in 1 Corinthians 15. He, basically, I don't think you have as much risk to worry about false beliefs or the opposite of what the apostles taught creeping in, being that along with the living tradition, you also have the written record to compare it against. And in the early church, they were a perfect match, more or less. So that's more or less what I'm buttressing the idea of, dying and going home to be with Jesus, and ultimately having a resurrection on is the fact that that's what the early church also taught, uncontroversially. Now, good question about the whole Simon Magus issue. You said, you have Irenaeus on one hand, who learned from someone who learned from an apostle, and then you have Simon Magus on the other hand, who, learned from the apostles and had radical Gnostic beliefs. Here's the thing with that. Simon tagged around for not very long at all with the apostles in Acts 8, committed a sin that became named after him, simony, wanting to buy spiritual gifts with his money. And, you know, Peter told him, you know, get lost. If you read other accounts of this man's life in the writings of, I think, Irenaeus and Justin Martyr, you know, this guy was more or less public enemy number one to the apostles. I don't think it would be entirely fair to compare someone like Simon Magus with like Ignatius of Antioch or Clement of Rome or Polycarp or Papias, who were good, loyal students of the apostles who drank in their teachings, who sat at their feet and just took it all in and wanted to be, you know, faithful stewards of the Christian message. In fact, you know, I think there's a tendency to want to paint this picture of, you know, numerous Christianities and, you know, what we have today is a quote-unquote traditional Christianity being the one that won out. You know, the heresy, the early heresies like Docetism and, you know, and Gnosticism, you just can't really credibly trace it back to the apostles. You even had the Apostle John in his letters, you know, writing against such people. You'd have Ignatius of Antioch in his letters in around 106 telling his congregations, you know, not his congregations, but his brother congregations, you know, obey your bishop, listen to your bishop. The bishop is in the place of God, because all kinds of insane heresies were creeping in, and the bishops were the ones closest to the apostolic teaching. Many of them probably new apostles and whatnot. There's just no way one can credibly trace back, you know, the Gnostics to the apostolic source, whereas you can with the Orthodox Church Fathers like Ignatius, Clement of Rome, Polycarp, and Papias. And what those guys preached was more or less what we have today as traditional Christianity. So there's that issue. And those are some of the main points I wanted to address. But I guess this all boils down to, and it's a very legitimate question that you might have, why should someone believe a group of fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, and the like, and their leader, you know, a slain Jewish carpenter, as far as, you know, having some kind of hope for the afterlife? Well, I'm gonna hit that hard in the next video, or I might have to do a couple videos, and that'll be coming soon. Oh, by the way, Tim, I understand you became a father again recently. Congratulations, sir. Two's a lot more fun, I can tell you. Yeah, we'll be talking to you soon.